Morning everyone and welcome to the Digital Telecare for Scottish Local Government webinar. I'm Siobhan Martin from the Digital Office and I'll be facilitating this session this morning. Today we are joined by Chief Digital Officer for the Digital Office and Senior Responsible Officer for Digital Telecare and Scottish Local Government, Martin Wallace. He'll be providing a brief update on the progress of Digital Telecare in Scotland. Following that, we will hear from David Brown and Linda Kerr from the Digital Telecare team. They'll be exploring the brand new Digital Telecare Playbook, and they will give you insight into the development of the Playbook and also the next steps to the next phases. The presentation this morning will last approximately 40 minutes, and then we'll use the remainder of the hour session for questions and answers. Please, if you have any questions for the presenters throughout the webinar, use the chat box function and we'll pick those questions up during the session at the end. This morning's webinar will be recorded to access at a later date and we do encourage you to share this with your colleagues. So without further ado, I will pass over to Martin Wallace to kick off the webinar.
Good morning all. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for the Digital Telecare webinar. I suspect that some of you might be a bit like myself, who've been up late watching the news. Yes, thank you again for attending. Also a big thank you to the people in the Digital Partnership and our Telecare partners, including Tech, Scottish Government and Digital Health and Care teams, for helping us put this together, and obviously the Playbook, which is obviously the start of a journey for us as a team. So those that know me will know that I'm a man of few words. That's irony there, that those that don't. So I'm going to just kick off the kind of introduction about what this is about. Then I'll pass to David Brown, Business Relationship Manager. Then Linda, who's leading the team of project managers and project officers and engagement with the partners to talk about the actual Digital Telecare Playbook. David about next steps, and then we'll open to all for questions. This session, you get out what you put in, so I do encourage you to please ask any question you may have to any of the members of my team here today. And those that we can't answer, we will come back to you in due course, and I'm sure that we can do some comms in the back of that as well. As we say, this webinar is being recorded and it will be shared, and we do encourage you to share it with colleagues and just spread the word of what we're doing, not only for Digital Telecare, but also kind of what we're doing in Scotland First across the piece as well. It's a fundamentally large programme of work, which, as I say, cannot be achieved without the help of others across Digital Partnership and Scottish Government and health partners as well. So basically where we've kind of come to, we've telephony providers kind of advised a couple of years back that there's a shift to digital in the next 5 years. So basically the telephone line you have in the house or in work is going to switch over to digital. That's a massive challenge stroke threat, but also a massive opportunity to really shake up how we fundamentally deliver services across telecare across Scotland, if not the world. Telecare providers are currently in that transition to digital as well, and it is a joint learning journey, because there's a lot of considerations that have to be taken into consideration, especially around about cyber, privacy impacts, new devices, new tech, assurance of the new tech. So it's a massive piece of work, and I'm thankful I've got a good team behind me to actually deliver on this. The Technology Enabled Care programme has been in place for a good number of years and is responding by setting the strategic direction to support the analog switchover by 2025. But I don't think we have the time or the opportunity to rest on our laurels and think, yeah, we've got a couple of years yet before things happen. The fact is, this is happening now, and we're already seeing instances of alarm receiving centres having some challenges as end users move across to digital already, and how do we support that environment, but also make sure that they have that lifeline that's needed through our service integration as well. So the tech programme also looks at addressing the challenges through digital improvement, integration and innovation, and we very much couple up with tech to actually deliver this programme nationally around what we actually do as well. So the Digital Office, we've been in play since 2016. We were originally a 3-year programme. We've just had the authorisation to go for another 2 years. And the Digital Telecare team sits within this portfolio of programmes to address the strategic direction. And as mentioned by Siobhan at the start, I'm the Senior Responsible Officer. for the Telecare programme, but also the boss of the digital office. But we do work with 32 local authorities. We do work with COSLA, Improvement Service, CMIS for Education, and other partners such as Scottish Government and Health to deliver new transformational services across local authorities. Primarily our roles around thought leadership, operational telecare management, digital security, portfolio programme and project management, but really kind of challenging the status quo with new ideas and thinking, because as the adage goes, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got. But if we actually talk to our citizens and users, they expect more, as more and more people are using things like online banking. Many of them will probably be ordering Christmas presents through online retailers. So why can't they have this sort of type of service in their own home environments from councils and indeed healthcare professionals as well? And if we look at the periphery of Internet of Things devices and wearables, such as Apple Watch, Samsung Watch, Fitbits, the proliferation of Amazon, Google Home in the house as well, there is an expectation that they want that kind of type of solution in the house. But how do we support this? How do we make this work? And also, how do we actually then deliver the benefits back to the citizens, whilst also taking consideration complex capabilities around cybersecurity, but also delivering on cost as well? So digital telecare, as I mentioned, we work with Scottish partnerships. We are supporting the smooth, safe digital telecare transition for the citizens. But what we're really exploring is increased flexibility, capability, improved efficiency of telecare delivery, integration. And for me, digital can be looked at in two buckets. When people talk about digital or innovation, people get excited. Digital's almost become like the emperor's new clothes. But if we actually look down to the fundamental basics of what digital means, it's about efficiency in existing systems and business processes, but also looking at new services that could be done as well using the data on the back of that. So, summary for me before I hand over to David is that digital telecare, we support telecare providers through transition of digital telecare via the new digital telecare playbook. And this fundamental piece of resource, which you'll learn more about on this webinar, is a key part of what we have to do to move things forward. The gents and ladies on the webinar will go in a bit more detail what that actually looks like. But fundamentally, we need your help to make this work. We need your input. We need your feedback. Very much we look at agile ways of developing things. So it is Discovery Alpha Beta Live, and what we produce on the Telecare Playbook is the best of the best. It's the gold standard, but it does need updating when new items come up or new solutions come up. So as I say, please give us your feedback, please get involved, and without further ado, I'll pass over to David.
Thanks, Martin. I'd just like to mention at the start, I'm struggling with a bit of a cold today, folks, so apologies in advance if you hear me coughing. I'll try my best not to. So, as Martin says, I'm David Brown. I'm Business Relationship Manager with the Digital Office for Scottish Local Government. I've been in post now for about 6 months, and prior to moving into this role, I was a Senior Manager with the Edinburgh Health and Social Care Partnership. Managed a range of services for Edinburgh, and one of those was Telecare. I was also the Partnership's Lead Officer for Digital Telecare, so I've been heavily involved in the programme for a couple of years now. So just a little bit about the Scottish Government definition of Telecare. The Scottish Government defined Telecare as any service which goes beyond the standard kind of box and buttons that's known. So any other type of sensor, that's the Scottish Government definition. I think operationally in Scotland, we would know anyone who receives any type of social care technology service as being in receipt of a telecare service. Just a little bit about the UK and the Scottish telecare landscape. So we know there are approximately 1.8 million telecare users in the UK. We know in Scotland that figure sits around about 180,000, and 45,000 of that group receive services via 2 housing associations. We know that in Scotland during 2017-18, 1 in 24 people received some type of social care service, and annually telecare services in Scotland take around 4 million calls per year. A little bit about the Deloitte's feasibility study, which was published in 2017. So we know local authorities spend roughly around £39 million a year to provide telecare services, and we know that that generates £99 million benefits approximately to the Scottish public sector. Broadly speaking, around 2/3 of those benefits are felt within social care, and the remaining third is felt within health. These benefits are largely non-cash releasing, and they primarily relate to a reduction in admissions to hospitals and care homes. So Martin's mentioned that we were made aware a few years ago now that by all of the main telephony suppliers that they would be decommissioning, switching off their analogue telephony network. That's all of the copper lines that go underground. That's been the predominant traditional method that Telecare services would use to communicate with citizens. And services are moving to a packet switched all IP solution by 2025. Probably important to note that we've been advised that the end point for this change is 2025, but we also know there's significant work underway right now. So a couple of the suppliers have said that they hope to have this work completed prior to that date. So 2023 is a date that's been mentioned. And I think Martin mentioned, we also know that services are going through a period of disruption at the moment. So work is underway. So this change is happening now. So our view is that Telecare services partnerships need to start planning implementation of digital Telecare as soon as they can, and that's to ensure that they can continue to deliver reliable and resilient services. We also know that the rollout of digital Telecare supports partnerships to meet fiscal and demographic challenges. Just a little bit about opportunities and challenges for digital Telecare. So developing this and improving this range of Telecare services allows higher capacity. It delivers an always-on connection to users' home, and that in turn improves efficiency and also expands the range of services that can be offered to users. We know that that the ability to have this always-on connection is an improvement. It provides much more data that services in the past haven't had access to. And whilst we know that's a benefit, it also brings a different set of challenges for services operationally in terms of how they respond to specific challenges around things like missed heartbeats, firmware updates, all of those things that are new to Telecare and haven't been part of the analogue world. So work's underway with some partnerships in Scotland to try and navigate through some of that, to try and work out what the escalation points are within that, and also to wrap processes and some procedures around how that might look. So that work is underway. Digital Office are working with a number of partnerships on that at the moment. I mentioned the ability digital Telecare gives us to increase capacity, and whilst that's a real benefit for us, we also know that partnerships are faced with a whole range of capacity and fiscal challenges. So that's a challenge moving forward in terms of how services are designed, how they are built up in this way. So a little bit about digital Telecare evolution. So reasons for implementing digital Telecare fall into three broad categories. They are around ensuring continued ability to deliver reliable services, meeting increased demand, and developing and improving the range of services that are offered to citizens. Some of the benefits associated with implementation are a high degree of flexibility in terms of how alarm calls are routed and shared, greater resilience and reliability, the ability to integrate with other devices, and greater opportunity for innovation and improved outcomes for citizens. I think those last 2 points for me are really worth spending a bit of time on. I think whilst this change is necessary and whilst we move forward to this 2025 date, we absolutely need to make this change. We need to make sure that services can continue to deliver services and continue to operate. But actually, the most exciting piece for me around this programme is once services move in the digital space, then that opens up a whole range of possibilities that when you speak to partnerships in Scotland is very, very interesting for this group. So this is around delivering better services. It's around service users bringing their own device to the service. It's around shifting from a reactive to a much more proactive model. So for me, I think we need to make this change, and then we need to seriously look at how services can innovate and deliver much better outcomes for citizens. So in terms of progress today, so the Digital Office has been working for a couple of years now with the Implementation Group. That's a range of partnerships that have been working very hard to move to a digital model. A number of partnerships so far have succeeded in delivering a live digital alarm receiving centre. They're at soft testing stage, so they have been working for a few months now on some testing on site, going through lots of challenges and lots of learning around how to manage device management portals, how to manage missed heartbeats, firmware updates, software updates to the alarm receiving centre. And it's anticipated that early next year, these services will move to deploying a digital service to citizens. That's something we're really excited about. But worth acknowledging the hard work and the effort these partnerships have put in for the last couple of years, and lots of the learning actually that's came from that has been fundamental in terms of how we built and shaped the Digital Telecare Playbook. So yeah, just to really acknowledge their contribution to this. And as I say, lots of this learning has really shaped how the playbook has grown. So with no further ado, I'll hand you over to Martin, who's going to add a bit of content.
Just want to say we're looking for obviously questions in relation to the content, and you can ask questions through the webinar solution. So feel free to add any questions through any part of this today. We're here standing by, obviously like standing by for your call. We're here standing by for questions anyway, before going maybe live after the rest of the presentations. So if you do have any questions, please put them up on the webinar system, and then we'll be sure to answer them at the end of the session. And I will now, without further ado, hand you over to Linda.
Thank you, Martin. I'm Linda Kerr, and as Martin has pointed out, over the last couple of years I've been working closely with Telecare team and a number of partnerships and stakeholders across Scotland to identify what needed to be done to achieve a digital telecare solution. David has pointed out that over the last year or so, partnerships who are looking to achieve that journey, it has been a challenge for them. A lot of people at the very beginning would talk about, oh, just switch something off and switch something back on. The reality became quite different very quickly with the realisation that digital telecare is going to play a large part in the development of the digital solution for our partnerships. So in principle, we started to look at the high-level development of that pathway. Really, it's all about generating a picture and a flow of how we can get from stage A, what the process looks like to get to B. So we looked and started to do a lot of work with a team of subject matter experts across Scotland, who really are the people who have helped to contribute towards making this playbook possible. In collaboration with those subject matters, partners and stakeholders, in addition to lessons learned from international organisations who are in the process of also implementing their digital telecare solution, we very quickly recognised that there is a clear process here, and we can actually help to make this a little bit clearer for our stakeholders and for our partnerships in particular. So the digital telecare playbook in itself started a design with a high-level vision of support. It's to support the transformational journey to achieve a digital telecare service provision. And the vision was to allow us a common approach. Let's do this once rather than 32 plus times across Scotland. And the playbook, as a result of the approach with partners, with stakeholders, is now a best practice guide. We have developed what is a living document. It's actually a central repository of guidance, support and templates to help our partnerships to facilitate their journey to achieve digital telecare services in Scotland. The playbook is set up through a number of pathways, and in principle you have to log on to the playbook. Information concerning how you can access it is available from any of us, but if you just go online and find Digital Telecare Playbook, you will get this access. At the moment we have the need to log on, and the purpose for the log on is to ensure that we can facilitate an overview of the level of interest that the playbook for digital telecare has across the country. And as I say, it's not in any way to try and restrict or manage people who are logging on. It really is just an internal mechanism for us. So we would encourage you to please log on so that we can identify who you are and help us to support the journey to achieve a digital solution. The playbook itself, once you've logged on, you would be taken to the management pathway. The management pathway is stage 1, and that's that entire journey from, as I say, the beginning to the conclusion with the process in between. We have created this pathway in 3 key stages. We are calling them the discovery phase, the planning phase, and the implementation phase. And we will be looking to set up a series of pathways from the management pathway, which will allow access for different stakeholder groups, different stakeholder groups and different user groups. And also it will allow people to identify the different work that they would have to take in their profession to carry out that digital transformational shift. So that's the pathway that we've put together, management pathway, 3 phases, and that's the stage 1, our phase 1 journey. So when you log on, you would be taken to the phase 1, the discovery phase. And in principle, that's looking at the first part of our management pathway, the first part of our journey. And it's looking at the methodology of setting up the project team, using the lessons learned with the partnerships and stakeholders we've been working with, and the level of work that has become apparent to enable the digital transformation for Telecare. It very quickly became apparent that you have to have your core team in place at the very beginning, and you have to understand what the status quo, what does it look like in my environment, what is it that we're actually trying to change, and how are we going to change that. And the discovery phase enables that part of the journey to be undertaken. We will be, as you'll see from the high level visual, those stepping stones do not have to be undertaken by every single organisation. This is the blue sky, but partnerships can come onto the pathway and decide what is it that we need for our stakeholders, for our management, for our citizens, to make sure that we can make this the best possible journey that we possibly can, and pick up on the information in each of these phases through the stepping stones that are visible. The discovery phase in the playbook, when you log on, looks like this. And you can see that each of those steps within that first level pathway is visible within the system. So you would click on an area that you believe that you need to find out more information about, and then it will take you to a part of the playbook and opens up the various different levels of guidance, templates, and other information, which could include other webinars to help you, to support you in that part of your journey. The next phase within the playbook, of course, is the planning phase. So you would go back and then start to consider, once you now know what you need to change, why you need to change it, what the problem actually looks like in your environment, and you've now received a mandate to actually progress with this work through your project team and through the governance process that you've put together internally. And now you're starting to capture a bit more information. You're undertaking your baseline data so that you have a measure to indicate where benefits are whenever you do transition to your Telecare solution, and all the way through, again, a number of stepping stones to ultimately put together a business case. Now, in many organisations, it may not necessarily be a business case in that language. It could be a high-level document capturing what the argument is and why the need for change has to be conducted. But using business case language, a number of the steps are captured within the planning phase, as you can see on the screen at the moment. So that is replicated within the playbook in this manner, in the same way as the discovery phase. And again, you would select an area, and that will open up to take you to the information that you're looking to explore. And again, there is a lot of information in many of the areas, but not every single area is populated yet. And that's why this is an ongoing iterative development. It's a live product that we are continually evolving to make it better and in line with what our stakeholders are looking for. The next step is the final phase, which is the implementation phase. And within this, we can quite honestly say that a number of our stakeholders are looking to start working heavily in this environment to actually transition to that digital connectivity. And we are really excited to be working with them to populate this particular phase in a lot more detail. So how does that look in the playbook? Again, you would open up the implementation phase. Sorry about the background noise. The implementation phase, and you would once again select what it is that you would be looking to do some work on. This example is looking at penetration testing, and the playbook will open you up to an area which will give you information around penetration testing. So in principle, as I mentioned at the beginning, the playbook is based on the management pathway. The management pathway comprises 3 stages: the discovery phase, the planning phase, and the implementation phase. There may well be further phases that will come and evolve from this, but right now these are the 3 areas from the initial project set up all the way through to commencing your digital deployment. So the playbook, as we continually iterate through this particular webinar, is obviously important to our stakeholders, to our partnerships, and we've added on a new section to allow us to be more interactive with you, to get more feedback from you, in addition to asking questions in this webinar, and obviously having access to the team per se. We would ask you, when you do finish with the playbook, to please answer the questions that are on the screen, to give us your views on what it looks like, because without those views we will continually move in the direction that we think we should, but we want to be moving in the direction that you need us to move in. So thank you very much for your time in listening to me, and I'm now going to pass you over briefly to Siobhan before we move on to David again. So thank you again.
Thanks very much, Linda. And also thank you to Martin and David for presenting this morning. David will talk us through the next steps following the question and answer session, and that might actually help him to shape some of those next steps as well. So as I said, we'll move on to the question and answer session. I'll give our attendees a few minutes to type in their questions to the chat box. And meanwhile, we do hope that this morning has given you a detailed insight into the work of Digital Telecare for Scottish Local Government over the last couple of months. There's been a huge amount of work put into the playbook, and we really want to make this a material that's used Scotland-wide for our partnerships, and we hope it's really useful. So also, as mentioned throughout the webinar, the playbook is brand new and we're always looking for input into the content. So when you log in or when you register to the playbook, there'll be an initial pop-up that allows you to answer a few short questions. I think there's 5 or 6 questions there, and it should take you no longer than 5 minutes to answer them. That will really help us to shape the phases moving forward. And we really want to understand the views and needs of our partners and our users. There's also a number of other materials available, and we would encourage you to share them with your colleagues, and that includes our recently published Guide to Digital Telecare, which is an interactive document summarising the needs and the work of Digital Telecare for Scottish Local Government. We will share the link to this interactive document alongside the slides and the survey following this webinar. So I can see a couple of questions flashing up. So I will move on to that. And again, if you have got any questions at all, use the chat box function. So there is currently a business case within the playbook. Will we be making this document, to be developing this document further? And I think, Linda, you'll be best placed to answer this.
Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, I beg your pardon, we had a small technical hiccup there, my fault. Yes, in answer to the question, We have been developing the digital Telecare business case over the last few months. It's currently in the final stages of contribution and hopefully sign off. So therefore, once that has been achieved, we will be putting it onto the Playbook, and obviously we will make you aware of all of the new information as it is being launched onto the Playbook, and that will be one of the next items that will become available to you.
Thanks very much, Linda. The next question I'm actually placed to answer myself. So someone is asking, it said the Playbook looks fabulous. It's a great tool for education and considering significant aspects of digital transition. Is it possible for commercial partners to gain access and review the Playbook? And the answer is absolutely yes. The Playbook is open to anyone to access at the moment. And as Linda mentioned earlier on, everyone can get access, and we're looking for feedback from our partners and wider, and we want to gauge interest, so we want to see who's interested in viewing that content, and that will allow us to develop that further. So feel free to go onto the Playbook, register, provide details of your organisation and provide as detailed feedback as possible. We're really willing to work with partners and wider to fully develop in the Playbook. Martin wants to add to that, so I'll pass over to Martin.
The fact is, this is a I was going to say a once in a generation opportunity. God, I'm almost as if I'm a politician here. After last night and everything else, I think I'll stop there. But I think this is what you get out, what you put in, and you know, this is very much a kind of a learning together partnership opportunity to develop. We don't know what the end solution is going to look like per se at the moment. We do know there's a cost implication in terms of Telecare just now, and even more so with digital Telecare. There's an uncertainty. There's a terror by error. There's a nice way to put it as well in terms of how we deploy and how do we support. But we have to do this together. We don't have any option. You know, 2025 is a good estimate, but we do know from conversations that date could be pulled forward by certain providers to 2022 or 2023. Hence the fact is that this is a burning platform. We need to do this together, and you know, seeing out to partners and indeed the private sector and the companies that actually build the solutions. You know, we can't wait for these things to get put in place. We have to move. So we're very much open for innovation, but innovation in our terms. And what I mean by that is we will not be signing exclusive contracts. The architecture shall be open, it should be secure, it will be standard APIs, nothing bespoke or proprietary. It has to be that architecture because we want to look at the fulfillment of other opportunities such as bring your own wearable potential, linking into the National Digital Health and Care digital platform, linking in with social work platforms, linking in with health platforms, and just moving that data around so we can look at the opportunity to do predictive analytics for individuals. And I think it's a massive opportunity we didn't necessarily have from analog telephony, where we have from digital, especially around the use of Internet of Things devices in the home and also when you're out in communities as well. So like I say, we implore you know, to get involved, have a look, register, and just keep us abreast of what your thoughts are, what your input could be, and just make us aware of what you're developing. Because like I say, it is a massive, massive opportunity, but we have to do it. We must do it.
Thanks very much, Martin. The next question is around the sort of stages that local authorities are following in their implementation. So one of our attendees is asking, is there an opportunity to arrange workshops by those local authorities that are planning on moving to implementation stage in early 2020? David, do you want to pick this one up?
Yep, thanks, Siobhan. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. It's something that we're keen to do. We've done a bit of that over the last 6 months or so, but plans for next year are to work with as many partnerships as we can to support them to make this journey. So, what really, to be honest, whatever works for partnerships, we're in the process of arranging a couple of workshops early next year with 2 partnerships. So that's underway. So yeah, absolutely keen to do that. Happy to help with that.
Great, and just besides that as well, there's a couple of questions around sort of training and accreditation. So is there any consideration for formal training by Digital Telecare team, and any consideration for accreditation? David, do you want to pick this up as well?
Yeah, I think in terms of formal training, I think we'd be happy to chat that over. I think we can see a lot of areas in this arena where that would be appropriate, and as I say, we'd be happy to consider that. The playbook, Linda mentioned this, but the playbook is iterative, so we're really keen to take on board other people's ideas and see where there's kind of sensible work that we can support. I can see the point in that, and it may be around working with other organisations, places like TSA, to kind of collaborate and see what we can build together. So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I think at the back of that as well, there's a massive opportunity, again, stroke threat, with data and digital skills for end user staff making decisions with the new systems. And there is a massive piece of work that Digital Office is doing in conjunction with Scottish Charity and Voluntary Organisation to roll out training for local authorities on digital essentials. So that's basic digital literacy for every single user in Scotland, which we are talking with health about rolling out through digital health and care workforce planning route as well, because we have to be cognizant that the people just now that are using the services are maybe the most vulnerable in society, older generation, which might not necessarily understand how the kit works, but more importantly, the people that are actually having to then take that data and do something with it to make analysis, to make informed health pathway choices is crucial. So we have to give them the skills as well. So that piece is actually in place just now with, say, digital health and care at the moment, and also through Digital Office. And we're looking at partners such as Data Lab for basic data literacy. We're looking at cyber literacy for cyber security. So we have a baseline of members of staff who will be dealing with digital solutions full stop, not just digital telecare, to have that basic training. The other piece we are looking at spinning up just now, based on a couple of conversations recently, is a digital maturity assessment for deploying digital telecare. That's only come up in the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks. Digital Office has been doing digital maturity assessments for the last 3 years. I think we're now up to about 19 councils at 32. So we'll be using a piece of that. We'll be looking also at the new digital maturity around about services and technical maturity that's being spun up just now by my team in the office. So there'll be a link to that hopefully in springtime. I'm saying springtime, I'm thinking March. My team are looking back at me in horror. So, you know, we will look at doing a digital maturity for deploying as well, as alongside the business case. So again, just an extra help to make sure that we can align things and you are taking every consideration before you move to a digital telecare implementation.
Martin, you might be able to pick up on this next question as well, being the longest serving member of the team with Telecare. So how receptive have the existing Telecare platform providers been in working with the Digital Office and partnerships with enabling digital transitions? And David, you might want to pick up on this afterwards in terms of your role as well.
Interesting. I think it's been an interesting journey. Let's put it that way. I think the fact is, we, as I said earlier on, we can't wait for people to catch up. We cannot wait for people and providers to get their act together to develop stuff. The fact is, this is here and now. And like I say, I'm looking for open architecture. I'm not looking for proprietary. I'm looking for things that will actually talk to each other. I'm looking for standard APIs. I'm looking for cybersecurity at the core of what's being developed. I think you can maybe read into that what you will, but the fact is that's the method and the way we're doing going forward, and also working in conjunction with Scotland Excel to look at the appropriate frameworks and support for procuring that piece of technology as well. Over and above that is working with the likes of Census, the Innovation Centre for IoT in Scotland, working with DHI and kind of spinning up or expanding the stuff that they've actually been doing, but also going back to the partners. So there's some great innovation we're seeing across the partnerships, which could be scaled, and I think that's the challenge, where things have been done as a pilot. And those who know me, I know I hate the word pilot. It's at version 1. So how do we take the best of the best and then expand it and then roll it out and scale it? And that's crucial in terms of how we actually develop it and do this forward. And so hopefully that answers the question. David, do you want to pick up?
Yeah, just to add to that, I would just say that I've spent a lot of time with suppliers over the last 6 months since I came to post, and we regularly hear from suppliers that Scotland are kind of leading the way in the UK with this piece. So I would say we're all on a pretty steep learning curve, but I would also say that my experience so far has been that all suppliers are very open, very keen to work with us, and have been very, very open to new ideas so far. So I think as long as we can just carry that into next year, we're in good shape.
Thanks very much, both. So the next question is around procurement. So there's a couple of questions I'm going to wrap into one here. It's around will there be a new procurement framework to support the purchase of new digital products, and how do we ensure that frameworks do not become a block to local authorities accessing digital technology? David and Linda, will you pick this up, please?
Thanks, Siobhan. Yeah, so plans are underway to develop a new framework which will include digital devices and digital technology. In terms of making sure that becomes flexible enough so that we can innovate and move forward, and we all know that this technology is developing at a particularly fast rate. Martin mentioned earlier we've got an excellent relationship with Scotland Excel. We're regularly in contact with Scotland Excel, and we're kind of co-designing how this framework will look so that it allows room for innovation. And as I said earlier, that's the kind of key component to this for most partnerships in Scotland. This isn't about doing what we've done for 20 years, which is okay. It's been pretty good. And I say that as somebody who's managed a telecare service for over 10 years, but actually people really want to innovate and access new technology. So that's absolutely at the top of our consciousness moving forward, that people can procure the devices that come into the market, the newly emerging technology. So that's absolutely part of our thinking.
Thanks, David. In addition, within the Playbook, we are looking to have more information made available to individuals concerning the procurement processes and how we will actually help to support partnerships in that process. Again, once those products are available, we will be marketing out the information to you to let you know that it is available, and we would encourage you please to get into the Playbook, have a look at it, give us your feedback to ensure that it is meeting your needs, and we'll continue to have ongoing development to have everything that you need to know to procure digital telecare. Thank you.
I think I'll come in there as well. I think you have to start looking now, though, at digital telecare. You cannot wait for the last minute. I cannot emphasise this enough, because it's not going to be right, we replace boxes the next day and it's a complete switchover. Somebody's come from the telecoms industry, and when you're doing porting out of old provider or old technology with new technology, there has to be a rollout plan for this as well. Especially if you've got rural community for digital telecare, or for telecare just now, which obviously throws in other complications in terms of connectivity, which we're working on as well, with the likes of Ofcom, Scottish Government's R100 programme, and talking to the 5G programme as well. So, please do not wait till last minute to look at digital telecare. Please get involved now. Please start to look at your procurement plans. Please start building your business cases with us, to look at how you can do the switch and how you can justify the costs as well. I think the big pieces as well, the hardware and connectivity, I reckon will be more expensive than what it is. But I think you have to look at the overall implications in terms of how you can actually remove money out of the system further down the line. So look at it as a total cost of ownership. Look at the return on investment through the total cost of ownership for telecare, not just the box. And that's crucial in terms of how you build the business case, but also how you procure going forward.
Thanks, Martin. There's a couple of questions on the back of your explanation earlier on about suppliers. So one of our attendees is saying it's easy to say that we can't wait for providers to catch up, but that still feels like the situation we're in. Could you maybe expand on that and provide a bit of advice?
The fact is that there's digital telecare providers worldwide just now. We've seen the likes of the Nordic countries, we've seen Barcelona, we've seen some of the stuff coming from the providers at the moment. So there is opportunities and suppliers out there doing digital telecare already. So I think it's, from being an old salesperson myself, I shouldn't say that because now you won't believe what I'm saying. So if I'm being somebody in sales before, I think don't believe the hype or the stuff that's being fed back to you. There is opportunity, and I think there's opportunities to actually grow, there's opportunities to innovate. And what I mean by not waiting for suppliers to catch up, there is already stuff out there we can actually use and utilise. So it could be a change of a supplier that you've had for many years. It could be an error or terror error, as I call it, or error terror. But I think you have to look at the bigger market out there, and as I say, we are taking examples and advice from worldwide countries which have done a little bit of work in digital telecare already. So I think hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks very much, Martin. There's also a question around the procurement framework, wondering whether the framework will go beyond equipment and include art dimension. Is that something we know, or is that something that we can look into and get back to an attendee?
So yeah, there is a I wouldn't say a skunk works project. There's an opportunity around alarm receiving centres. We've got 26 alarm receiving centres in Scotland, all using different technologies, all with different providers. I'm not for one talking about consolidation and stuff, but I think in terms of how that's set up could be looked at, a new way of working. There's a piece of work that has literally just been kicked off this week by my team and with Andy Grail and the CISO to look at that. So that will be something work in progress, and it's already been floated to the Scottish Government this week as well to see, to get some buy-in. So that may come soon, hopefully sooner rather than later. But I think there is flexibility in the framework. We will take into consideration all feedback from all parties, including suppliers and innovation partners, to look at how do we make a partnership, how do we make a framework that's going to be suitable for digital telecare in a short time frame for quick deployment, but also having the long-term benefits for interoperability and security at the heart of it. So I think it is a work in progress, and as I say, it's not just hardware. We will look for maybe services and new ways of thinking, and definitely architecture as well.
Thanks so much, Martin. The next question is going back to the playbook. So one of our attendees is looking at business continuity, guidance, and things to consider when things go wrong. Could these type of things be included in the playbook? Do you want to touch on this, Linda?
Thanks, Siobhan. Yes, absolutely. There's no reason why that cannot be included. As has been indicated throughout our webinar today, we are really keen to ensure that the products that we are delivering are what our stakeholders require, that the partnerships need. And obviously, if that's something that's becoming prevalent, then please get in touch with me, David, or any member of the team, and we can discuss this to discuss what it is you're actually looking for, and we can develop those products accordingly. So please get in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. There's another question on the back of the procurement answer. I'm wondering whether there will be info provided within the playbook around some of the alternative suppliers from other countries. This is something that you touched on earlier, Martin. Is this something that we will be including in there?
There's always a potential. There's always a potential to do that as well. So again, we are taking lessons learned. Recently at the Digital Health and Care Week, we had partners across from Norway talking about their story about how they deploy digital telecare, and there's some great case studies and lessons learned there as well. So yeah, we'll look at all possibilities, because like I say, ticking time bomb in terms of the platform. So we'll have a look at it. So please be rest assured we'll take on these feedback.
And I would just add to that as well, we'd be really keen to get some of that feedback and requirements within the feedback survey. So please, everyone's encouraged to put their comments within that feedback survey. So please do so. And the next, I think, and final question. The original plan indicated digital transition by 2021. Is this so, or is this been amended? David, do you want to pick this up?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of 2021, that would be our target for us to achieve some of our aims around having some partnerships live, and all of the learning and data that comes back from that will support us to continue to iterate the playbook and build our knowledge on some of the challenges. I think we anticipate early next year actually that we will have a group of partnerships live and deploying to citizens, and next year there are a high number of partnerships that are going to become part of the programme, and are actively progressing towards digital telecare. So, and what we see is a bit of a tipping point, I think, next year, where there are a range of partnerships that are so close, and actually the technical piece is complete, but we're just working through some of the cyber security elements to make sure it's perfectly safe and resilient. So I think next year is going to be an important year for us, and I think by 2021 we would expect to have a significant group of partnerships live or very close to going live. And as I say, all of the learning and information that comes back will support partnerships who are just about to start on that journey, and that should potentially streamline the process for people and make it a bit simpler. So yeah, we're working to that date.
David, just want to point out that next year's 2.5 weeks away. No pressure. But like Dave says, 2020 is a fundamental shift. I mean, the digital office has got a kind of a 4 S's: the shape, share, shift, and scale. So we've shaped the agenda for digital telecare for the last while. We've shaped kind of the business case. We've shaped in terms of what the opportunities and the threats are going to be. We've shaped what the collaborations could look like. We've shared best practice, or we are sharing best practice through the digital playbook. We are sharing, case studies and examples from worldwide. The next thing is shift and then scaling. And that shift thing is going to be done with certain partnerships next year, so we can learn from the mistakes and we can learn and iterate. Because I don't think this is going to be easy. Right? Let's be truly honest. But we have to shift together, and then we scale it, and we have to scale it together. So, as I said many times before today, you get out what you put in. So please get involved with our journey. Please help us shape it. Please help us shift it. But shift it once for Scotland. Shift it together. Because we can't do this. We cannot wait. As I keep saying as well, I'm worried about this, being senior responsible officer. We cannot wait for 2025. This is happening now. So, share your stories, share ideas, share what you need from us through the feedback survey, and then let's shift and scale it, and then we'll look at how we can do that.
Martin, 2 more questions come in just in the last few minutes, so we will touch on them and then we'll pass over to David just to wrap up the webinar. So the first one is it worth investing in 2G and 3G technology for our whole service user base, which is 3,500, if we will need to upgrade to 4G in the potentially not too distant future? Martin?
So we can take that one away. 2G and 3G. So 2G is GSM standard, and that is still the kind of standard for mobile phones at the moment. However, coming from the telecoms industry, I reckon that will switch over soon to full digital. 3G investment is no longer there. There's still 3G infrastructure there. 4G investment is now on the wane as we move into 5G technologies, as they go to commercial with it. You could still look at the 2G stuff. And 3G stuff, I'll give you a run. I'll give you a pace at the moment, but I think there will be a tipping point where you'll have to look at the 4G, 5G. Maybe not right now, but maybe in about 2 years' time. That's just my own personal opinion, but I think we'll look into that, and I can get some proper feedback from Ofcom and my friends back in the telecoms industries. I think David, you've got something to say.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Yeah, just so latest information from Ofcom is that 2G has got quite a long life left in it. So although we're excited about the opportunity in terms of 4G and different types of connectivity, the devices that are procured at the moment, we expect to have a long time in terms of kind of life, in terms of them being devices in the field. So I think at the moment, the devices that we're procuring, we expect to be able to function for quite a long time once they're digital. And I'm talking about years. I think it's expected to, latest information from Ofcom is that will extend beyond 2025, so we're pretty comfortable with that. But actually what we're seeing is a whole new range of emerging technology which uses different types of connectivity. So over time, I think that will develop, but the devices that are being procured at the moment, we expect to be operational for a while.
In addition, this is obviously a burning question that a number of our stakeholders have been asking about over the last wee while. We have been looking to develop some of the next phases for the playbook, which David will talk about in a few moments. But one of the products is actually exploring what the impacts and implications will be concerning connectivity around Scotland. So that piece of work has just been launched, and we have a number of stakeholders working with us to help develop that. And as before, and I know it's a constant message, but it is the case. Once we have something that's tangible we can share with you, we will send out information through our comms team and we'll keep you apprised of that.
Thanks very much. And the last and final question is going back to the procurement area. A scoring scheme would be very helpful. It may be controversial, but can we not see how many units are being purchased through the framework? That's something that, Martin, you may be able to pick up.
Depends who's asking. If it's a supplier asking, no. No, listen, anything's up for negotiation, but I'm trying to understand why that question's being asked. What's the fundamental reason for that question? I think if the person can pick up with us privately, we can answer the question, because that can be taken so many different ways. So I think yeah, if you can pick up with us privately on that one, we'll come back to you. But I think yeah, we want to see ramp up of digital telecare. We want to see ramp up of people buying units from that, and look at the stats. But I need to understand why that question's come up.
That's great. We've got the details of the attendee here, so we can pick that up with them after the webinar. So as we're for time, we're going to move back on to David for the next steps. If you do have any further questions, then please drop us an email at digitaltelecare@digitaloffice.scot, and one of the team will pick up any questions that you may have. So David, I'll pass back on to you just to wrap up the webinar, and thanks very much for everyone's questions.
Thanks, Siobhan. So yeah, just to summarise in terms of next steps, so we are incredibly proud of the playbook so far, and that's been built and iterated by lots of involvement from partnerships, and just to really acknowledge their contribution and thank them for that. So as Linda mentioned earlier, we plan to introduce a number of pathways to the playbook as we build this and grow this. Next steps for us, and what we in terms of kind of feedback from partnerships, the priorities are technical and security. And you probably heard me mention earlier that security is probably the most fundamental piece for this transition. It's a new piece for Telecare, and it's a real shift from anything analog services we'd have dealt with so far. So what we hear from partnerships is that that's something they want us to prioritise. So work is underway now to look at that piece, and we hope to. I'll repeat this. You've heard this a number of times today, but we really want to support from partnerships and collaboration. We really want. There's lots of new pieces around this that we want to work up. So any interest at all, please let us know, and we'd be really happy to work with you. The key contact for phase 2 is our project manager, Colin McFadgen, who joined the team recently. So again, if there's any appetite to engage with Colin or to connect with Colin, please contact the digital office and we can set that up. In terms of further pathway development, we have mentioned technical and security, so that's our priority and that's underway. I've mentioned innovation as well, and you'll hear me repeat that a lot. So I think this is the most exciting piece in terms of the programme. I think making this shift from reactive services to proactive and starting to use, Martin mentioned the huge increase in data that digital brings us, start to use that in a smarter way to deliver benefits to citizens, but also to allow partnerships to operate in a much more effective and innovative manner is really exciting for us. And actually, last but not least, we are really keen to develop a citizen pathway. We're keen to co-design how this service will look, how this programme will look with citizens, so work will commence on that next year. Next year as well, we really plan to continue what we've done for the last 6 months, which is really engage with partnerships. We're really keen to build. There's a question earlier around workshops, and a couple of those are being planned at the moment, but we're absolutely keen to have those discussions with partnerships and see what we can build for next year. We'll continue to arrange things like focus groups and webinars and communicate with people in as many ways as we can. So collaboration is really key to what we're doing. And last but not least, all of the information today and all of the plans for next year will be pulled together and folded into a communication plan, which we will share with you all early next year. So that's how we'll let you know what next steps are, and also get a bit of feedback from yourselves in terms of what you'd like us to focus on.
I just think one final thing the fact is that analog's dead. Digital is here and now, and we have to move to it. And I think the more worrying thing, as I look at my elderly parents, but also hitting my mid-40s shortly, is that whatever we design just now is necessarily what we're going to have when we get older. You know, we have a large proportion of people using Telecare in Scotland just now. So think about what would you expect, what would you want, what do you need, as well as your users, and then let's build this together. So I think we'll finish up.
Yep, thank you very much, Martin, and also thank you to Linda and David again for your contribution to the presentation. We hope you've had a good insight into our work today. As mentioned earlier on, if you've got any further questions or you're keen to engage with us to help develop the playbook or any other work within Digital Telecare in Scotland, then please do email us at digitaltelecare@digitaloffice.scot. And also we will share the slide deck from today, the survey link, the Telecare playbook link, and also the guide to Digital Telecare. We'd be really keen for you to share this with as many colleagues as you possibly can. We're really wanting to get as much insight and needs to help us develop our work further here. So we will wrap up here. Thank you very much for attending today, and we hope to see you all soon. Thank you.